deep cuts of 10 seconds of rambling until the streams start. Shout out to Periscope people as well. They are hearing it too. But here we are for the NBA Strategy Show presented by Yahoo Sports. It is Wednesday, November 14th. Myself, Adam Scher, here to break down a five game slate. There is a sixth game, not included. Kicks off at 6 o'clock, I believe. But Adam, how's it going?
Yahoo has it, right?
Yahoo has everything. Their slates never make any sense to me. Shout out to Yahoo, the presenting sponsor for this show. You guys will include anything.
Doing well. I've enjoyed basketball. It's gone terribly for me, but I've enjoyed the slates. We got a 5-gamer today, had 7 yesterday, 8 the day before. I'd be happy if we just had these 5 to 8 game slates every day for the rest of the year.
Yeah, so we are in the midst of the most interesting week, starting from November 10th, which was Sunday. 7, 6, 8, 7, 5, 8, 8. That's the stretch for this entire 7-day week. No lower than 5, no more than 8. It's perfect. Next week gets a little squirrely again. 6 on Sunday, 9 on Monday. Then we go to a 4 on Tuesday, an 11-game slate for Wednesday, a 2-gamer on Thursday, and then back-to-back 10s on Friday, Saturday. And then we don't have any games the following Thursday, thanks for Thanksgiving. I do kind of love that the NBA just taps out to Thanksgiving Thursdays.
But then they go all in on Christmas.
Exactly. Oh, it's the greatest day ever. Yeah. I love telling my family, hey guys, I got to do a show today and I'm going to watch basketball for 8 hours. Ho, ho, ho. Guys, if you listening to this later in the comments section, feel free to drop it in chat if you want to drop it in right now. Who killed you the most on last night's slate? Who was the guy that submarined you if you were submarined?
Can you just put the entire 76ers roster?
You probably can. I thought Pat Beverly was going to be the guy that submarined me, but it worked out anyway, even though he sucked. So there is that. But yeah, drop in the guy that murdered you most. I want to see who killed you. Norm Powell, yeah, that's a good one. Ben Simmons. Spencer S says no one. Congrats on your huge day, I guess. Who is your answer? Do you have one?
Ben Simmons. Okay. Al Horford.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah, a lot of Ben Simmons. Thomas Bryant coming up. Jeffrey Epstein.
I had on DraftKings, I had 70% Simmons, 40% Horford. So that made it pretty tough to get a really good lineup.
Mr. Smith says +69 G8 EH8. Bunch of dashes, 99 plus. So I think he might have actually died onto the keyboard. Mr. Smith. Oh, and now it's just Graham. I could see how autocorrect could get you on that one. Graham is a tricky one. Hope everybody had at least a mildly successful day. I've got lineup study pulled up for last night, and if we take a look at it, need to just play around with the sizing of this window again. It was a good day for the 150 max people. In the shoot around or whatever it was called, the 450 guaranteed 100K to first. The first 6 spots were all held by 150 max players, including a 3-way tie at the top. So they chopped $160,000 or something. All 3 guys are 150 maxers. That's interesting. But one of the lineups is different than the other 2. They just happen to tie as well. That's craziness.
That happened to me last year. It's so frustrating. I in one of the 100Ks to first, I had a unique lineup and I tied with a 6-team train. It was not fun.
Yeah. So we've got Nickelback for Life, Mazwa, and Supreme all tying at the top. Best I could tell, Mazwa and Nickelback for Life have the same lineup. So that would have been Terry Rozier, James Harden, Bridges, Bertans, Towns, Van Vliet, Kuzma, McGee. Supreme got there. Let's see, what are the differences? No James Harden. Nope, James Harden is there. Brooks. So Jeff Teague in. Miles Bridges out. that the only one? Dylan Brooks in
Bertans.
Yeah, Bertans out. There you go. Big day out of JaVale at 3,700. I've had a lot of both JaVale and Dwight on FanDuel. Not entirely sure. I didn't know who it was going to be, but I assumed that one of them were going to be quite valuable. Turns out.
I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I made yesterday. I had a bunch of both, but I set the normal rule not to have them in the same lineup when I had them projected to play 48 minutes and they were both really cheap. I think it was a perfect spot to just get 48 center minutes.
Yeah, so I did the same thing actually. On Fantasy Draft, I ran the crunch. I got a bunch of both, and then I was just like, shit, they're both showing up in the same lineup, and I probably don't want that. Just because I figured one of them was going to become the guy that gets the minutes.
Right.
Turns out it wouldn't have mattered all that much. You needed JaVale, though, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
I think that,
go ahead.
Like in that situation, I'd have been okay with it just because there wasn't, outside of Kuzma, that price range didn't have a ton of great stuff. Like you had issues with Hollis Jefferson, you had issues with Boucher, they were both cheap enough where like if one of them plays 22 and one plays 26, they probably both do well.
Shouts to Legalized for letting me know that I didn't change the title of the show. So we were just doing PGA Live before lock for a couple minutes on the header. We're the NBA strategy show around here. We're the NBA strategy show. Yeah, Rozier, hell of a day at some chalk. Obviously, James Harden was James Harden. Shouts to Russell Westbrook getting 4 fouls in the first 8 minutes of the basketball game. Incredible. Siakam and Van Vliet, if they don't move those prices, those guys are going to be problematic with the amount of minutes they're playing. Just crazy.
Did they play 40 plus again?
Honestly, I don't know. I just assume that they did because
Van Vliet played 40 and a half. Siakam played 41.4.
There you go. How much Bertans did you have? I don't have it pulled
Probably
up quite
none.
yet. Yeah.
Probably none.
I had like 3 or 4 shares on FanDuel, which was fun. Let's pull up Alex. And you. AWESEMO, as if I can't spell that at this point.
I can't spell awesome.
Nope, I can't. Neither can I. Oh, big day out of Alex. He came close to doubling up here. I'm anxious to check out these exposures. Highest owned player, Kyle Kuzma, 4,100. He was in 64% of lineups. Alex had him in 91.3. You had him in 88. We talk about this a lot, but when you get a guy and you have like a decent sample of his past, we obviously pretty much know what Kyle Kuzma is. We know that he is getting at the minimum, let's say 26 minutes. Barring any injuries and things. When guys are priced like this at 4,100, chalk becomes really irrelevant to the scenario. They become too good for that price. There is no downside to Kyle Kuzma at 4,100. He can only hurt you if he simply cannot be on the floor.
Right.
And that's why you see Alex in the 90s, you just shy of 90, and that's what happens. If I filter down, this was something we talked about yesterday. I know for sure you didn't hear it. I like taking a look at everyone that entered 150 lineups in this contest and seeing what the overall exposure was to the players for people that played 150 compared to the rest of the contest. This should be like a smarter cross-section for it. Kuzma in 67% of lineups there, so slightly higher than the rest of the field. Next 2 highest owned guys, Jaren Jackson Jr., D'Angelo Russell. Russell underperformed a bit. Golden State just never in that game. You were under on Jackson, slightly over on Russell. I don't think there's much to glean there. The piece that I want to touch on, Terry Rozier to the entire field was 32% owned. Alex had 85%. You came in at 35. The 150 maxers had him in 51% of their lineups. Do you have any specific takes to Terry Rozier for yesterday? Any particular reason you were lighter?
He was a really good play. I didn't have him shooting 7 for 12 from 3.
Sure.
That's all there was. He was a really good option. There were a lot of good plays on that slate. He was projected for a ton of ownership, so I came in around the field on him. He played the minutes you expected. He got up the shots. he shot 13 for 21 from the field and 7 for 12 from three. So whereas normally you're going to get like, 35, 40 points, he went for 50 plus.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if you had like a natural pivot that you were going for, any specific.
No.
That was just like the perils of the slate. If it came up at 60, would you have been surprised?
No, I've been, perfectly fine.
Okay. I didn't know.
Probably, actually, I think I would have had more. He was the first game of the night, and we got Jeff Teague ruled in. So I know in my initial lineups, I had 22% Teague, which I'm sure took some away from Rozier. And then Teague came off the bench, so I did some swapping, but Rozier had already locked.
Okay. Yeah, that was a not fun situation. Eddie and I were still live last night. And I was just like, hey, we just got some news. Pulver starting.
Yeah.
We were just like, lovely. Lovely.
Yeah, so I think that probably cut back my Rozier a lot, because thinking about how I make lineups, I have Rozier projected for, I don't know, like 6.5x or whatever. And I have Teague projected for like 6x or 6.5x. And we have Teague at, very low ownership and Rozier at a ton. So I'm sure that I just ended up taking a bunch of my Rozier and making it Teague.
Gotcha. Highest scoring players yesterday: James Harden, 71.5. Bradley Beal, 62.75. Why do you hate Bradley Beal so much? You didn't have Harden or Beal shares here.
I don't think I've gotten Beal right all season. Like I go way overweight on him and he shoots like 3 for 80. And then I don't have him and he scores 60.
Any particular reason you had no exposure to James Harden? I'm not surprised. I mean, I think the answer is because he was 11-7 and everybody else on this slate was not.
Yeah, I think that's the answer too. Also, I did a lot of late swapping, like just optimizing my lineups throughout the night. So I don't remember when that game started. What'd you say?
Is that the right word for it? Optimizing them?
Optimizing them based on my terrible projections.
Sorry, had to.
Yeah, no, but I think that might have had something to do with it. I don't remember what time that game locked, but it's possible that I just kept, because I know like when I put my lineups in at 7, I think I had like 40% LeBron or something, and then I ended up with 80. So I might have just ended up like taking off a bunch of Harden and making him LeBron.
Okay. Anything else to touch on? Wiggins going crazy again. Are we finally getting the real Andrew Wiggins?
I don't know. Is this the real one or?
I don't know.
But yeah, he's been great.
Ryan Saunders talked about it before the season that, they were planning to play differently, play a little bit more modern basketball. More layups, more threes, less mid-range stuff. Get the ball in his hands more. Seems to be working so far. I don't know if this is just a product of Jeff Teague not being there. Obviously, Teague was playing. He put up 30-something and change and finished in the GPP winning lineup anyway. So there's that. But I'm really anxious to see the continued growth of Andrew Wiggins. If he ends up being anything functionally good for the Wolves, that becomes massive for them because he has an albatross contract right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't have given him away, and if they can turn that into something resembling an asset, I would be very intrigued.
Also to go back to the Harden question, I had tons of Kawhi.
Yes, you did.
I had Harden projected for like 66. I had Kawhi projected for like 57 or 58 at 2K less and really low ownership. So that took a lot of my Harden too.
And that was the next thing that I was going to get to. Kawhi Leonard, 4th highest scorer. Exposure to the field, 12%. You had 38. Alex had 7. 150 max guys had 9. So more than the field as a whole, but even still, that was your stud stand of the day, I guess. Him and LeBron.
Yeah.
Heroic effort there by LeBron, Surprise, surprise. LeBron James is a fantastic play when Anthony Davis is not going to be on the floor.
Yeah, 52 points in 3 quarters, but can't play the 4th.
Yeah. I mean, thanks Golden State, I guess.
Yeah.
Who was guarding him? Draymond for some of it, I would
actually
guess?
have no idea. I don't know.
I was
too confused all game by the uniforms that they were wearing. It took me the entire game to figure out who had the ball between Golden State and the Lakers because Golden State was like wearing yellow jerseys and the Lakers weren't.
Weird. JaVale ended up going crazy. 55 fantasy points. 14.8x value on DK, the highest number by far. One of only 2 people to hit 10x or more. Can you tell me who the other one was? I'll give you a hint. There were 44,117 entries in this contest, and he was in 25 of them.
To hit 10x?
10x. You will not get this.
I know Monk came close, but he didn't quite get there.
9.9 on Malik Monk.
Yeah.
There's basically no chance you get this.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like what random guy went off, but
he didn't even go off. No.
Was it Little?
Carson Edwards.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He had 31 fantasy points at the flat minimum, and he was in 25 lineups. I would guess that 15 of those were probably dummy lineups.
yeah, for sure.
Highest value guys: JaVale, Carson Edwards, Malik Monk, Terry Rozier, JaMychal Green, Aaron Gordon had himself a day, went for 50. Who else went for 50? Siakam, Van Vliet, LeBron, Rozier, Towns, McGee, Kawhi, Wiggins, Beal, and Harden. So the only one in that entire group to go for 50 that you're just kind of like, Aaron Gordon? Rozier, I guess? Well, I guess JaVale, but if you know what JaVale's minutes are before the game starts, you're not surprised that he gets to 50.
Right.
It's obviously a point per minute monster. I don't know. Fun slate, I guess. I'm happy, obviously, but we're on to the next one. Another solid 5-gamer. I'm happy that I could really dive into it today. No live before lock for me, so I can focus a little bit more as we get close to it. But time to just start going over some things. Today, free content. Fast Eddie Fear's rankings will be free today. The NFL Showdown rankings, free today. And the NHL line changes article, also free today. Those are our 3 pieces of free content. Shout out to Yahoo Sports for being the presenting sponsor. I dropped the link in earlier to chat. I'm going to do it one last time. If you want to sign up at Yahoo, check out Emacs Cash Building Blocks article. There is information at the top of the article on how to sign up. You can click that link and use the promo code AWESOMO to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. You can get lower management fees, sometimes no management fee contests, better payout structures in their contests. You're going to see a lighter load of scary dudes to go up against. You should see some softer competition. It's an excellent place to play. They've got contest sizes up and down the line for whatever sort of level you are playing at. A lot of 10 max contests, so you don't have to worry about just going up against 150 in everything. They are doing 150 in their big baller contests, but if that's not your cup of tea, you can get in some 10 maxes at basically every buy-in tier from a quarter all the way up. So I highly recommend you guys go check that out. And if you want to just sign up at Awesemo, go to awesemo.com/join, use the promo code NBA Strategy, one big word, and get 50% off your first month. Any monthly package you choose. It can include Fantasy Cruncher, and all you have to do is use that promo code NBA Strategy. 5-gamer. I don't get the sense that you're playing the 6 p.m. Showdown slate or anything, are you?
Not planning on it now.
Okay, good. Well, let's dive in. Let me make sure we have ownership, which I'm sure we do. And we do. 9-14. Tom, on the ball, killing it with the NBA ownership. Let me grab that right now. Oh, and if you head to any of our sports-specific pages for NFL, NBA, baseball, or NHL, so if you go to awesemo.com/NBA, we did a redesign of our sports-specific pages, super cleaned up. Actually, I might as well just pull it up on the screen right now. It's been super cleaned up, way easier to get around. You'll have all of the tech type content on the left-hand side, rankings, projections, ownership, etc. All of our articles, so Chris Spags' Switch and Hedge, the cash building blocks, all of our different cheat sheets for each site, Alex's live blog, the deep dive, which Adam and Laffy write on alternating days, our expert survey, the strategy syllabus. You'll find that all split straight down the center. The latest articles to be posted out here to the right. Just a much cleaner experience. I think you guys will like this. So if you're ever looking for NBA content in particular, awesemo.com/NBA will get you directly there.
I apparently killed it with the picture game on the deep dive yesterday. Just a nice close-up of Kyle Kuzma's groin area.
Great crop. taking a deep dive into Kyle Kuzma's crotch. Fantastic. I'm going to put that down on the task list. Teach Adam how to crop an image. Should be fine. I think we'll get there. What was I doing? Oh, yeah, ownership. Whew. Wasn't ready for that. I didn't even notice it either, and I looked at that a couple times yesterday. Maybe subconsciously, I was just looking for Kyle Kuzma's crotch, and I got exactly what I was looking for. All right, ownership is in. Ready to dive in if you are. You drink that coffee.
Yes.
It's bad timing on me. I should have been looking. All right, here we go. First game up. Actually, there we go. Atlanta Hawks. Nope, that's not the right game. Milwaukee Bucks hosting the Chicago Bulls. 120.75 implied total for the Bucks. 109.75. That's an 11-point gap for the Bucks. Ooh, let me hit on one thing before we keep going. Mike Bucket's talking about Shumpert signing with the Nets. Has nothing to do with Kyrie. They just have the ability to sign a 16th player right now while Wilson Chandler is out. They just now got the free roster spot to be able to make that move. So they were going to sign someone one way or the other. Also, bad move from the Rockets by not turning him into a trade exception. Neither here nor there. Anyway, Bucks and Bulls. No Chris Middleton. Out for a while now. A couple weeks. Which is going to make it interesting over the first couple games. Because they've got a lot of dudes that are in like the shooting guard, small forward vein that we're going to hash out. But first, we need to start with Giannis. 12-4 on FanDuel, 11-7 on DraftKings, $20,700 on Fantasy Draft, and $55 on Yahoo. Any guesses as to what Giannis is projected for in ownership on DraftKings out of the gate?
20?
Double it.
40.
Yes. 41.
I can do that math.
Well, thank God. If you didn't, man, this would not be the industry for you. How you feeling about Giannis here against Chicago? A putrid defense.
Yeah, I mean, he should obviously go nuts for any time he's on the floor. 35, 36 minutes in competitive games. Nothing to dislike at all. It's also a slate that doesn't have, Harden or anyone else at the top. No Harden, no LeBron, probably no Kawhi, I would assume. So kind of by himself. It'll really come down to, how good the value is that opens up. One thing ownership wise that I always find interesting on these small-ish slates, when you have one true star at the top, is, obviously it's really appealing to get him into lineups, and there's nothing wrong whatsoever with getting Giannis in lineups. But a lot of times you don't end up with a wide variety of value. So you kind of just end up, okay, well, I have Giannis, and now I have like the same pool of like 4 value dudes to choose from as all the other 40,000 lineups that have Giannis.
Yeah. So I like Giannis most on FanDuel at 12-4 just because of the position. And then Yahoo at $55 I think is really appealing. You're never upset when you get him, but good God, that's a big price tag. 11-7 with Luka sitting there at $10K. They're the only two guys in 5 figures. 41% is a lot. I'm surprised to see that. Is that just a testament to the value for today?
And probably also just the lack of guys at the top.
True.
Worth noting, if you look at Giannis's numbers last year, if you put him alongside Bledsoe and take off Middleton, you don't really get a big change. He's still 1.75 points per minute, which obviously is fantastic, but it's not like he's turning into, James Harden without Westbrook or something.
Right. Yeah, it's really hard for you to take anybody off of the floor for Milwaukee and see some sort of monumental jump for Giannis because he's involved in every facet of the game already. It can only be marginal increases at best.
Right. Like I was actually, when I was running it, I was expecting it to look about the same. Yeah. And I was hoping it would, because if you got like over 400 minutes Giannis with a 39% usage rate or something, it would turn into like, okay, do I actually project that to be the case and project Giannis for 82 points or what? So I'm glad that it looked exactly like I expected it to.
Especially for Giannis. I wouldn't even be shocked if it got worse just because of Middleton's like shooting ability and the spacing. They're putting on a worse player for him. And it's not changing what he's doing. It's just kind of restricting his spacing. But anyway,
Right.
I'll happily have some Giannis. I assume that you and I have him as the highest projected player by like quite a bit.
Yeah, I can't imagine I don't.
Yeah, like I love Luka and all. I mean, I'm clearly the president of his fan club, but
You don't even have clothing with his face on it, dude.
that's true. That's true. I'll get a pair of socks as well, or just maybe a T-shirt of Kyle Kuzma's crotch, because that's really the way to be the president of a fan club. You don't necessarily need socks. You need pictures of crotches. Who do we think benefits most from Middleton being out?
Okay, so that's what I was trying to find. When the hell was the last time Milwaukee played?
I can give you that actual answer.
Like I was looking on Popcorn Machine and just didn't see it, but I thought it was
10th,
recently.
Sunday.
Right. Yeah, they played the 10th against OKC. It's always fun when you get to guess whether Kyle Korver, Pat Connaughton, Sterling Brown, whoever else is on this team get minutes.
George Hill, like
so,
they could slide people.
Sterling Brown had been picking up minutes lately too. He played
Wes
18
Matthews.
in that game. Yeah, it's going to be annoying. Middleton left about halfway through the third quarter. Sterling Brown subbed in for him. Ended up playing more minutes than Connaughton or DiVincenzo. Korver was out that game, if I remember correctly. My guess is Sterling Brown or Pat Connaughton get the start.
Yeah. I gave Sterling Brown the most minutes of any of these jabronis that we're trying to hash out. I have no confidence in that whatsoever.
Whoa. DraftKings pricing has been like 2K too cheap all week, and now we get $4,400 Sterling Brown.
Yeah. So Brooke Lopez is projected for 20% ownership on FanDuel and DK. Eric Bledsoe is at 18 on FanDuel, 9 on DraftKings. No one else for the Bucks is north of 8%, which is DiVincenzo on DraftKings. I think that no one knows what to do. And they could all just easily play 20 minutes and they're all useless.
I think the most likely outcome is that they're all useless.
I don't disagree.
Especially when you consider that Brown is 4,400. Like, he has to actually have a game to be worth that salary.
Yeah.
Connaughton, if he were to get 26 minutes, can pretty easily give you a decent score for 3,600. But yeah, I think the most likely outcome is that maybe one of these guys gives you a score where you don't look at your lineup and just go, why the hell did I play this guy? Yeah. But that none of them are really that useful.
Yeah, no one is popping for me. 35 flat minimum Wes Matthews on FanDuel needs to be talked about, I guess. He's at 6% ownership.
Yeah. So also, George Hill could just play more minutes.
Yeah.
So
they have like 6 options to soak up 30 minutes, and they might all just get 5 extra minutes.
Right. Like, they can easily just slide Matthews down and run Hill alongside Bledsoe more.
Yeah. Especially against the Bulls. Like,
it's probably what they should do.
Yeah. It's something
especially
because
the Bulls are running lineups with like Dunn and Arcidiacono for 15 minutes.
Right. I gave Wes Matthews.
I think George Hill's probably my favorite play, actually.
Okay, 4K on both
especially
sides.
If he's going to get low ownership.
What do you think of Wes Matthews for 3,500 on FanDuel?
It's worth a dart throw.
Yeah.
Like, his minutes have been down, but there's nothing saying they have to be.
Played 32 minutes in the last one.
His minutes had been down. He was playing like 22 to 24 for a while.
Yeah, for sure. I gave him 28 for today. It seems like the easiest place to just soak up a like amount of minutes to Chris Middleton, but if he's the flat minimum, like I think that's the best dart throw on FanDuel.
Yeah, I would agree.
0.52 FanDuel points per minute so far this season, so that dart might not hit the board.
Yeah, he's been bad.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't been good for a hot minute either. Eric Bledsoe today?
Yeah. So last year with Middleton off and Giannis on, he averaged 1.12 DraftKings points per minute. If you put Middleton and Giannis both on, I should have taken off Brogdon, but 0.92 points per minute. So yeah, his usage last year with Middleton and Giannis on was 19.5%. If you put Giannis on and take Middleton off, you get it up to like 25.5.
I've got him in for 25 right now.
Yeah, nice bump for him. And then his rates this year have just been really good anyway.
Yeah.
24.8% usage, 27.9% assist percentage. So I think Bledsoe is, even though his price tag came up, I still think he's a really good play.
Yeah, I like him more on FanDuel for $100 more, but $22 on Yahoo might be the best price across the board.
Potentially more minutes for him too, because one of the things that's been holding back his minutes a bit this year, in addition to blowouts and some foul trouble, has been that George Hill is going to get his off the bench.
Yeah.
But if they do play them alongside each other more, then maybe you get 32 from Bledsoe and Hill still gets his run, but it's just alongside him.
Yeah, and like I know that we don't think about blowouts, and it's not that I think that this game is going to be a blowout, but coming into this game as an 11-point favorite, a game that you should be winning, 70-something% of the time, we could just see there could be no rhyme or reason to whatever rotation they land on today in comparison to like a truly competitive game.
Yeah, also true. I think that the biggest takeaway is, unless we get some quote saying like this is what we're going to do, there's a bunch of ways this can go. It'll probably be game flow dependent. Yeah. If any one of these secondary guys, the Hill, Connaughton, Brown, whatever, become really popular, just go to a different guy, because a lot of them are going to negatively correlate, and none of us making lineups are very likely to know with a great deal of certainty what's going to happen.
Bingo. Let's head on over to the Bulls side. Tough spot for Chicago, 109.75 implied total. That's the third lowest for today. Zach LaVine, 7,200 and 7,100. Actually, it's probably easier to just bucket these guys. 5 guys on the Bulls: LaVine, Markkanen, Carter, Thad Young, and Kobe White are in the 12 to 17% range on FanDuel for projected ownership. On DK, it's a little bit more concentrated. Wendell Carter at 5,600 is at 23%. Markkanen at 16. LaVine at 11. Nobody else in double digits. You see the quote that Markkanen's been nursing some sort of injury?
Yeah, he's been playing through an oblique for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. So something to think about. Not that, but could be the reason that he's at a sub point per minute value. Anything stand out to you from the Bulls?
I'm going right back to Markkanen.
Yeah.
So he sucked last game, but he only played about 28 minutes. His salary now is down to $6K on DraftKings. The positive takeaway from the last game was that his rotation looked exactly like I wanted it to. Luke Cornett, once again, wasn't in the rotation. You had in the first half, Markkanen sub out early and then sub back in for Wendell Carter as the backup center. In the second half, Carter subbed out first and then subbed in for Markkanen, which ended up really screwing Markkanen, because that's when that second unit, led by Kobe White and his 23 fourth quarter points, went nuts. So Dan and I talked about it on the podcast last night. I think Markkanen lost between 4 and 6 minutes if you look at the rotations there. In the first half, Wendell Carter, when he subs back in for Markkanen in the second quarter, he subs in at the 10-minute, 35-second mark. If Markkanen had subbed in at that point in the fourth quarter for Carter to spell Carter until Carter comes back to close, he would have picked up an extra 6 minutes. But the Bulls were in the middle of what ended up being a 22-0 run, and he didn't sub in. Wendell Carter just played all the way through. So I think normally, instead of seeing Carter play 35 plus minutes, you're going to see Carter play like 32, Markkanen get a couple of those minutes back. So the rotation, I think, was really good for Markkanen. He just got unlucky as far as Kobe White remembering how to shoot to start the fourth quarter.
How many minutes did you give Markkanen?
34.
Okay. I'm in for 32, and he looks fantastic. I do have a lot of minutes to go around yet that I don't really know where I'm going to allocate quite yet.
I'll probably actually go 33, because 34 is just like, I think
you and I both know you're not going to type 33 into that cell.
I've been a little better at that this year. Yeah, I mean, like, I think the game has to go like perfectly for him to get 34. But if this is like an 8-point game, and nothing weird happens all the way throughout, I think he plays 34.
Okay, that's fair. What about for Carter?
30 to 32.
Okay. Yeah, I have him in for 30. I've tried to be slightly low across the board for these Bulls guys. That left me 8 minutes to still assign, since they appear to be running this 9-man rotation. But I didn't want to overreact immediately and then just find out that I'm going to get 800% of Kobe White or something stupid. Colby White.
Yeah, Kobe White.
What else do we like here? LaVine, I'm like, he just exists for me. I want to have like roughly 10% of him. He's kind of like, not at all sort of the same player, but he's like Klay Thompson to me, in that I always just want to have like a bit because he is the guy that will go bananas. But more often than not, he just exists. He's always just priced where he should be.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I will mention that Milwaukee, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I know last time I looked, they were allowing the most 3-point attempts per game this year. Zach LaVine, 6.5 per game, Markkanen, 6 per game, Kobe, 5.7 per game, and then a drop all the way to Thad Young at 3.7.
I don't expect to get much Kobe White.
I won't.
Yeah.
That rotation
5,400 on DraftKings. He's 4,800 on FanDuel.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I mean, it's different on FanDuel, but that rotation still sucked for him last game. Ryan Arcidiacono is back in the rotation. If you look at the first half, Kobe White played about 11 minutes. He played a lot more than that. He played like 15, 16 minutes in the second half because he could not miss. He hit 7 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. So obviously you're not taking him out, but like his normal rotation right now, as long as Arcidiacono is in there and he's not getting minutes to back up LaVine, his normal rotation is basically just backing up Chandler Hutchison.
Oh, Chandler Hutchison. I hate that dude for reasons that I don't know. I don't know it mostly because I want his name to be Hutchinson and it's not.
I actually dated a girl with the same last name, so it's like really easy for me to say. It didn't take long, but that would it annoyed me when I met her.
Yeah.
So I think it would have annoyed me if I was just becoming accustomed to the name.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I assume everyone will say that wrong and write it wrong forever. I wonder what the difference is in like what's the word, etymology of that name, like where most people that are Hutchinsons come from in relationship to Hutchisons.
Yeah,
because it's totally down to like dialect, I would imagine.
It could also just be a spelling error.
That's true.
No, I mean like in Ellis Island error.
Oh yeah, like well, not even just Ellis Island, but I know where you're going with that. A girl in my high school her name was Courtney, but it didn't have the U because they just fucked it up when they were like filling out her birth paperwork.
Yeah,
it's like it's not worth the problems of like renaming yourself when you're 4 years old when you actually notice it.
Yeah, I think my family name I don't think always had the C in it. I don't remember the story behind it, but I think it used to not have a C.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I have anything. I'm just happy.
Which would probably make it way easier for people to like pronounce when they call me and ask for me by name.
Yeah. Make it better for Laffy at the very least.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to touch on for Chicago? This is a nice pace up spot.
Not really. So Thad Young was another beneficiary of the weird of the second unit getting hot. He played 30 minutes last game. I don't anticipate that happening outside of weird circumstances. So I think it's really Markkanen, Carter, and LaVine for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have some sort of combination of LaVine, Markkanen, Carter, and Young for sure, predominantly on FanDuel, with Markkanen being the lead in all of that. And I would say Wendell Carter for $17 on Yahoo. That's probably his best site. Markkanen looks pretty good on Fantasy Draft as well at 12.3. Let's keep it moving. The New Orleans Pelicans against the Los Angeles Clippers. This one's going to be really wonky. Pelicans are just brutalized right now. Clippers are going to be weird as shit. Pelicans 1-point underdogs at home to the Clips. 117.75 implied total for New Orleans. That is the third highest number. Clippers 118.75. That is the second highest number. So this is a monster pace game. Big time pace up spot for the Clippers, no less. But lots of points to be had. We'll start on the Pelicans side. So trying to do this off of memory. Lonzo out. Josh Hart out. Okafor questionable. I feel like I'm missing someone else that's potentially questionable. Ingram. Yeah. I saw as soon as I looked up, I noticed it. This is going to be a very important game with very important decisions, and right now is kind of scary. We've got Drew Holiday and Derek Favors in the 20s in ownership on FanDuel. Kenrich Williams is at 12%. He's 4,700 now. On DraftKings, Holiday, Ingram, and Redick are all in the teens. Derek Favors at 5,500 is at 30%. What do we do with the Pelicans? Is there anything that immediately jumps out to you?
Drew. No matter what happens, I think Drew's a great play. It can really only get better. Like if Ingram's out,
Right.
Holiday becomes even better. But if Ingram's in, I still think Holiday's great. He was kind of disappointing last game. He didn't really shoot well. He still scored like 48 DraftKings points. Watching the game, he looked like hesitant's not the right word, but it was just not as aggressive as usual. Gentry actually commented on that after the game, that Drew needed to go back to kind of looking to get his and not worry so much about getting looks for other players, which should only make him better. So I think that with Lonzo out, it's just a great spot for Drew, whether Ingram's on the floor or not. If he's not, obviously you get a bigger offensive role for Drew as well. Ingram, if he's in, is a great play. He's even cheaper than Drew. If he is back, you have to assume that he's good to go. The MRI was clean. He didn't practice yesterday, so seems like he's probably truly questionable. And then Favors, playing big minutes, played almost 30 minutes, 2 games in a row. So still think he's a good value.
Yeah, I like Drew. I like Brandon Ingram. I will obviously like Drew a lot more if Brandon Ingram ends up out, but I'm very happy to have both guys. Favors is just kind of an easy plug and play. $17 on Yahoo is a super silly price for Derek Favors. That one's just go ahead and get that now. After that, I don't know what breaks out. I assume Kenrich Williams continues to see good minutes. This feels like a really good spot to get Nickeil Alexander-Walker at like additional run. Probably not going to happen, but
that's what I thought last game.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe he'll see the floor.
I mean, Etuan Moore was the sub for Josh Hart, so I think the best guess is that Moore gets gets additional minutes. Like he appears to be ahead of Alexander-Walker in the rotation.
I gave Moore 22 as of right now. We'll see where that shakes out as we get further along. I am just as bad as you now. I look at this and column F is my minutes. Every one of those bad boys are even numbers. It takes a lot for me to get, like, I need to see some guy have like a 33-minute average and have played 33 minutes for like the past 3 games before it's like, all right, I'll bump him up from 32.
I really don't know what it is either. Like I'll look at Popcorn Machine and I'll see someone play 33 and I'll just immediately be like, oh, they must have meant to play 32 or 34. Like the coach is out there like, we need an even interval of minutes.
It's like injury reporting. Nobody's ever out 3 to 5 weeks. It's always 2 to 4, 4 to 6.
Yeah.
It's always like round numbers. Well, even numbers. So stupid. If Okafor is out, is there any path Melly or Jackson Hayes?
Jackson Hayes probably plays like 18.
Okay. Any Frank Jackson love?
I don't think so. Like I mean, they played Drew at, I guess with Hart being out, maybe there's a path to Jackson. But so I would say that you don't want to play Jackson and Moore together. Because there's a way where Frank Jackson plays Moore and he plays alongside Drew in place of Hart. I think the more likely outcome is that Moore does, but I would say that they negatively correlate.
Okay.
I don't think it would be surprising if Jackson starts and that they keep Moore on the bench because they need shooting.
That makes sense.
With Redick in the starting lineup now. But I still think it makes sense for Moore to get like mid-20s minutes, which kind of limits how many Jackson can get.
So we're in agreement. Drew Holiday is tops. Well, Drew Holiday and Derek Favors. Favors being 5,500 on DraftKings is just super silly, but Drew Holiday can only get a better outlook if Brandon Ingram happens to be out.
Right.
Okay. For the Clippers side, I've pulled Kawhi and I've put Paul George in. Shrug, I guess, but that should be the Paul George being in is more up in the air than Kawhi being out. Kawhi's just out. I can't imagine he's playing this back-to-back finally for the first back-to-back in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Actually, probably 3 years. 9,400 for Paul George on FanDuel, 7,900 on DK, 14.6 on Fantasy Draft, and $37 on Yahoo. Do you really have any interest in Paul George in this spot?
If he were to play like 30 minutes at 7,900 without Kawhi, then absolutely.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to expect minutes wise.
I gave him 30. I just don't really know how much he soaks up in the first game back.
Yeah, I mean the like information on him that I'm reading says he should be able to get into the 30s, that he's played. He's been practicing a lot. He's been, going through scrimmages and stuff. So, I mean, if you get $7,900 Paul George for 30 minutes, and we've seen, for a month that Kawhi is getting like 38% usage with this team without George, there's no real reason to think, George isn't getting everything in this offense. So I would like him at 7,900.
Yeah, that's what I'm pulling up. I want to pull up right now what Paul George's usage rate was with Russell Westbrook off the floor last year.
If I remember right, it was insane.
I have him in for 29% usage right now, which is exactly what he was for the season last year in Oklahoma City. But obviously that should swing a little
33.2.
So yeah, bumping that up to, I would say that would be a pretty good proxy for this. Because I would expect he and Lou Will to at least be relatively staggered, just given the fact that Lou Will doesn't start basketball games.
Yeah, so that was going to be my point. If you take Schroeder and Westbrook off, you only get 89 minutes, but it's 41.2.
Okay.
So I would expect that you're getting like 41% with that starting unit, and then like 29 when he's with Lou Will.
I would say Schroeder is a pretty good Lou Will approximation for like.
I mean, it's as good as you're going to get, at least from last year's Oklahoma City team.
It's the only it's the only option.
Yeah.
It's not Abdel Nader and what other wing assholes that they continually run out there that are basically the same.
When Terrence
guy.
Ferguson's on, his usage doesn't really change, so I don't think it'll change with Lou Will.
Exactly. So let me go ahead and just bump that up a little bit just to see what the impact is if I give him a couple more bites at the apple. Paul George, let's call that 33. I mean, either way, it's Paul George. Unless we see something about his minutes, I would want to see that 30 is probably the floor of like where I want him to be. If they're like mid-20s, I'm just gonna have to find
mid-20s. Yeah, mid-20s at that price point, it's like he probably does fine for the salary, but it starts to become really tough. You run into like the DeJounte Murray situation where it's like he's going to be a monster for 26 minutes and he probably won't disappoint you, but it's really tough for him to actually like beat that salary. Yeah. Once he starts getting up above 30, I think that he becomes a really, really good play.
7K on FanDuel, 7,700 on DraftKings, 14.4 on Fantasy Draft, and 29 on Yahoo. How do you feel about Lou Will? Because 7K on FanDuel seems like a really stupid low price.
Yeah, it is. 77 on DraftKings is okay. Like it's a fast-paced New Orleans team that doesn't play defense. But I'm going to treat it, if George is in and Kawhi's out, I'm going to just treat it like Kawhi's in as far as Williams rates for this season.
Which I think is a reasonable approximation.
Yeah. Like maybe it goes up a little bit because it's Paul George's first game back and he's not shooting 28 times. Yeah. But I think it's a good enough approximation. But it makes, you probably get like 32 minutes. He's a good play, I think, but better on FanDuel.
Yeah. 7K is just not enough. He's my second favorite shooting guard play on FanDuel. And the other one is value DeAndre Bembry, which is not exactly something that I'm super happy to say out loud, but is there nonetheless. Montrezl Harrell, Pat Bev, JaMychal Green. Anything else standing out here? JaMychal Green, 39% owned on FanDuel at 3,900. He's 34% owned at 4K on DraftKings. Your value piece of the Clippers?
It's fine. It's still JaMychal Green. Like he played a.
Yeah.
Who started? Oh, Lou Williams started the second half yesterday. Yeah, I was trying to, because Patrick Patterson yesterday only played 4 minutes.
You got the Bogans.
So you got 32 from JaMychal. I'm not going to expect Patterson to play 4 minutes again.
No. I gave JaMychal Green 24.
Yeah, I was gonna say 24 to 26 would be where I'm at.
Yeah. And that's at 3,900 on FanDuel and 4K. That is value on a 5-game slate. Pat Bev is at 22% expected ownership on FanDuel, 5K. He's 5,700 on DraftKings. I'm going to get Pat Bev on FanDuel because of that price. I assume you're not all that interested on DraftKings.
Yeah, not that interested on DraftKings.
Anybody else that we need to touch on here?
What was Harrell's FanDuel price tag?
8.
Yeah, it sucks because I like the spot for him.
Yeah.
And he should play, 30 plus, but starting to get a little expensive.
Yeah, I'd rather get to the Jokic at 9,600, and then you're falling off a cliff to Wendell Carter at 66, which I would say is probably pretty comparable play.
Yep.
Actually, I would probably rather have Wendell Carter at 66, so that makes it easy. All right, 2 games down. Let's hit one more. The other 8 p.m. start. 104.25 implied total for the Knicks. 111.25 for the Dallas Mavericks. Kristaps Porzingis revenge narrative. Can't wait to talk about that. But we'll start on the Knicks side, where they're playing tonight. 7,900 for Randall. He's the most owned guy here. 14% owned on FanDuel. 22 on DK. We also get RJ Barrett at 20% on DraftKings at 6,200. Nobody else in double digits of exposure. Do you want any part of the Knicks?
I like Randall.
Yep.
Been playing him a lot lately. I think the salary is just a little bit low for the rates that you're getting. 24.4% usage is a little bit lower than I anticipated coming into the season, but it's still the highest on the team. 19.7% assist percentage. He rebounds, playing, consistent 33, 34 minutes in competitive games. So I wouldn't say that he's a core play for me. I still think that I'll get more Markkanen at 6K than Randall at 7K, even though Markkanen scares the hell out of me because of previous events. But it's still, I think, a pretty good price tag for Randall. He's my favorite guy from the Knicks.
Yeah. I like Randall. He's my favorite guy from the Knicks. I do like that $6,200 price tag on RJ Barrett. I don't really want any other part of the rest of New York.
Yeah. Mitchell Robinson, questionable. If he's in, just mucks up the front court even more as far as Portis goes.
Yeah, it's gross clear across the board. Let's talk Mavs. Luka 11-2 on FanDuel, 10K on DK, 17.8 on Fantasy Draft, which I would say is his best price, and $49 on Yahoo. I'm a fan. I prefer Trae Young on FanDuel today. He's $1,100 cheaper. I like Luka a little bit more on DraftKings at 10K, but I think prefer Trae Young even in that comparison. Luka looks great. He's my second highest projected guy, but I like him. Mid-20s in expected ownership. I think that's all perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, so do I. Did you say he's 17.8 on Fantasy Draft?
Yes.
That is insane.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Normally
it's best price.
Normally it's basically double DraftKings, but that's 8,900 in DraftKings dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great play there.
Yes.
Good. I mean, great play everywhere.
Right.
He's got a 32.5% usage rate this year. He's got a 48% assist percentage, and he also has the highest rebound percentage on the team outside of Boban.
Yeah. 1.53 FanDuel points per minute so far this season.
Yeah, and he plays, 36 plus minutes when the game's competitive. So it's not like you run into minutes issues with him either.
No.
Yeah, nothing for me to dislike about Luka.
No, not at all. Luka or Giannis?
Cool.
It's a coin flip for me.
Yeah, I think it's really close. It has more to do with who the other player is than with them.
Yeah. What are you doing with the extra $1,700?
Right, exactly. Because I prefer Giannis to Luka, but
right.
It obviously comes with a cost.
I know we didn't get there yet, so I don't know if I can give you this question yet. Luka or Trae, separated by $400 on DraftKings.
Probably Luka. Yeah, Luka.
Okay. I've got Trae right now, but again, really close, and that could adjust as we get closer.
I love Trae too, but
on FanDuel, with them being separated by $1,100, I think it's probably got to be Trae at that point. That's a real big price gap for the two of them.
Yep.
Porzingis 8,400 on FanDuel. He's at 16% ownership. 6,900 on DraftKings, which is nice. 25% ownership. What do we want to do with Zinger? It feels like he's been not great. Still 1.15 FanDuel points per minute. Like he's been a lot better than most people. He's been better than I expected for someone that hasn't played basketball in like 20 months.
Yeah, I mean, I like him a lot here. The minutes have been there. He only played 20 against Boston, but he had 5 fouls in that game.
Yeah.
Fouled out in 36 minutes against the Knicks, played 34 minutes against Orlando, 31 in a 20-point game against Cleveland, 37 in the overtime game against the Lakers. So there's no real issue for me projecting him for like 34 minutes. Still has the second highest usage rate on the team at 26%. You wish you were seeing more in the way of peripherals, but tough to get those when Luka is getting them all.
Yeah.
So the price tag though just really stands out. Don't really know who slows him down on the Knicks either. Last time they played, I think it was Marcus Morris was defending him. He played 36 minutes, had 50 DraftKings points. Not that is indicative of today, but the point is that they don't really have an answer.
When Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis are on the floor together, what do you think their point differential is? They've played 464 possessions together.
You mean the Mavericks point differential?
Yes.
I have no idea what good even is, but I will say very good.
-10. Terrible.
Really?
12th percentile. Wow. They have been eviscerating people when just Luka is on and really, really messing up everyone when neither guy is on the floor. Their bench is just completely destroying the league. If I take Luka off and I take Kristaps Porzingis off in 145 possessions, they are plus 33 points. Brunson, DeLon Wright, Tim Hardaway, Justin Jackson, and Dwight Powell are plus 33.7.
Wow.
Yeah. Carlisle is the bench whisperer, dude. Yeah, they have not been able to figure them out as a two-man unit yet. Clearly don't expect that to continue. They complement each other really well, but hasn't been great. They're shooting 40. They have a 48% effective field goal percentage. The 7th percentile for offenses. You wouldn't expect it. That's for sure. But again,
probably gets better going forward too as you get more familiarity.
Right. Kristaps Porzingis has not been on an NBA basketball court before this season for a year and a half. It'll take some time. And they have a coach in Rick Carlisle that is one of the better tactical coaches in the league. He'll figure something out. For the rest of the Mavs, only DeLon Wright at 3,800 on DraftKings is in double digits in ownership. Do you want anything else from the Mavs?
Not really. I was hoping that Powell and Kleba would be a little bit cheaper, but at 5,100, you probably can find better options.
I agree. I don't have much else to say for Dallas. So, perfect opportunity for everybody to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Got a lot coming up for the rest of the day. Laffy and Sal will be up at 11 a.m. doing a little bit more NFL strategy. At 12:30 Eastern Time, Alex Baker, Osimo himself, and Ben Rasa will be doing an NFL showdown preview of Steelers-Browns for tonight. Jake will have the NHL strategy show at 4. Alex will have his game plan show behind the paywall at 4 as well. And then Deeper Dive. Make note of it, everybody. 6 p.m. start for the Deeper Dive. We've got an 8 p.m. lock tonight. Then live before lock at 7 p.m. Fast Eddie Fear and Chris Spags taking you home. I think that's everything I need to hit on. We also have an NFL giveaway going on tonight. Don't know if we have the tweet up or not, but let me see if we do first and foremost. We do. So, if you head to @Osimo_com, that is our Twitter account. We have a pinned tweet. You can win a free 2019 NFL Osimo Plus Pass All you have to do is guess the player that scores the most fantasy points in tonight's Steelers-Browns game. Just retweet, like, and reply that tweet. Follow the Awesemo_com and Awesemo NFL account, and you will be eligible to pick up the free one. That's all you have to do. Very easy, guys, so go check that out. Again, at Awesemo_com is the Twitter handle. 2 games to go, man. We've got 25 minutes to do it. Out. We might be pacing this one correctly for once.
Yeah.
Had to happen eventually.
There was, so we can quit pacing because there was a comment that I thought was really interesting in our Slack chat about Luka. And it says that I don't know what you had said about Luka, but he said, I feel I agree and disagree just because Luka's not very athletic. I wonder how it will affect him in the next 7 to 10 years. I feel like Trey will end up being better. Even without getting into the argument about whether Luka's actually athletic or not,
right?
Because that can last a really long time. I think, like, if you at least agree that he doesn't rely on raw athleticism, like, he should age pretty well. He's
more
incredibly
skilled.
talented.
Yeah.
It's not like Giannis. You can run the issue that he might not age well because when he can't jump over everyone, what's he going to do? But when you're as skilled as Luka, you should be very, very good for a very long time.
He might already be the best passer in basketball. And he's 20. Like, he has been playing against men for years now. This is why the whole argument was so preposterous, at least to me coming out. He is playing at a level. He was playing at a level that is not college basketball, and proved himself on that stage to the point where he was the best player doing it.
Right.
The transition has been incredible for him to the NBA. He's so good.
Yeah, like him and Trey should both age well. Like, Trey is a shooter and a great passer. Like, those skills aren't going to go away as he gets a step slower.
Yeah.
And Luka's a phenomenal passer and it's an all around great player. That while I think he is athletic, very athletic, just not in maybe the way that you view guys like Giannis. He shouldn't really get worse either as he gets a step slower.
Right. Look, I think that I was wrong about Trae Young. He's been significantly better than I thought that he could be at this point in his NBA career. But there's no scenario where I don't think that there's a team in the league that would take Trae Young over Luka Doncic if given the opportunity, outside of the Hawks, obviously.
Yeah,
and I think they would like to switch
it
because
he was. I was actually right on Trae Young because I don't know anything about college basketball, and he was one of the only players I had heard of in the draft. So I just thought he was going to be good.
He has a very small margin of error. That body type is always like, you need to be the exception and not the norm. You can never make up for size. Luka Doncic will always be like properly sized for the NBA.
Right.
And that is something that you can't fix ever. Like that's just it.
Yeah, Josh, I'm 5'7". I'm very well aware.
See, I can't, and I'm 6'2", so I feel fantastic. Either way, they're both really good. But there are things that Trae Young will just simply never be able to do on a basketball court due to his size. He'll shoot the shit out of the ball, that's for sure. They're both good. They're both really good. Every team should want Luka. I think it's that easy. I think the teams that did not take him are greatly regretting that. Could you imagine if the Suns were like, we'd rather have Luka Doncic than DeAndre Ayton right now?
Whew. Yeah, that would be a pretty scary team.
Yeah, and then what else do we got? What are the other? The Kings would, well, they'd screw him up, I'm sure, but
right.
I'm sure they would happily take him instead of Bagley. And then I think Luka would look pretty damn good on the Hawks. Not that that's a, they picked up the extra pick. They get Cam Reddish in this deal. Trae Young has been fantastic, but.
Oh, so actually I was watching the most recent Hawks game, and they were talking about some league executive that said 5 years from now, Cam Reddish will be the best player on the Hawks. I don't know if they have Trae Young going somewhere or.
Yeah. Where did he end up?
Right.
Trae is better. People talk about size as if it matters. Those people don't know sports. Welcome to the chat, Big Meech. Yeah. Fair enough. Phoenix and Atlanta. 117.5 implied total for the Suns. 110.5 for the Hawks. 7.5-point favorites for the Phoenix Suns in a basketball game. Here we are. Devin Booker is $9,200 on FanDuel, $8,100 on DraftKings. Picking up mid-20s in ownership. Ricky Rubio at 20% on FanDuel. Kelly Oubre at $5,500 on FanDuel and DraftKings. He is projected for 46% ownership on FanDuel and 30% on DK. What stands out to you from the Suns?
That it's another day where I'll probably be praying I don't get killed by Devin Booker being popular, because he's kind of become like Zach LaVine for me now that he's playing with Rubio. Like, the usage rate is down, the assist opportunities are down. He's a guy that absolutely can break a slate, but when those guys are getting a lot of ownership, I end up just going to other players and hoping that they don't shoot the lights out. Booker obviously is in a perfectly fine spot. He can have a big game, but yeah, he just, I think, isn't as good a DFS player this year as he has been in the past because of playing with Rubio and, in some part playing with Oubre.
Yeah. 1.05 FanDuel points per minute. He's a much better basketball player now than he is a fantasy player.
Yeah.
But certainly helps to have like actual basketball players around you and not. It's a lot different when Ricky Rubio is starting in your backcourt with you instead of Elliot Kobo.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I'm not even like the biggest Ricky Rubio fan at this point in time, but yeah, there's going to come a game where Rubio sits and Devin Booker becomes old Devin Booker and just guns a bit. That'll be fun. What do you think of?
So
go ahead.
I was gonna say, who do you like more, $8,100 Booker or $7,400 Rubio?
Booker slightly, but Rubio in a GPP, if they're really separated 3-1 in ownership.
I have Rubio projected like a point behind Booker.
A point?
Less than a point.
Okay, I didn't know if you said A or 8.
No, I said A, but less.
Because I have a 7-point gap there. So if you said 8, that made reasonable sense to me. Now I have a pretty big gap between the two.
I have Booker at 40.3 DraftKings, and I have Rubio at 39.7.
43.3 and 36.2 for me. Admittedly, I have not taken a big time dig into Ricky Rubio's rates for today, so it is early. But I have them pretty close. But if Booker's 28% owned and Rubio is 10% owned, I'd be happy to make that one flip to upgrade somewhere else. What the fuck? Okay, whatever. Doesn't matter. Kelly Oubre, 46% owned on FanDuel. Thoughts?
He's really cheap.
Yeah. We have
it's fine. I mean, it's one of those plays where you don't want to look at it and just be like, oh, he's popular, I'm fading him. Do you fade him in lineups where you have a bunch of other chalk, and you play him in lineups where you're contrarian?
Right. So you've got Giannis at 12.4, Paul George at 9,400, potentially Brandon Ingram at 8,700. Will Barton is 7,400. That's just too much for Will Barton for me. So he's not really a guy that I'm looking to. Feel kind of similar about Marcus Morris at 6,500. So then you're all the way down. If Brandon Ingram doesn't play, there's a $4,000 gap at small forward before you get to Oubre. He should be slightly more expensive. So I understand it. That feels like too big of a number, but at the same time, your alternatives are basically paying down for Taurean Prince, Kenrich Williams, DeAndre Hunter, Joe Harris, Mo Harkless, and Cam Reddish. Not exactly a murderer's row of things that I need to have.
Right.
So I get the chalk there on FanDuel. How do you feel about him for 5,500 on DK, pulling in the most ownership on the Suns?
Same way I do on FanDuel. Like, I think that he projects as the best play for me from Phoenix by a little bit over Rubio when you factor in price. So yeah, I'll have a bunch, across 150 lineups. I expect to have plenty of Oubre. I'll just be making sure that it's in lineups where I'm taking a stand somewhere else. How many more points per minute do you think Rubio is averaging than Devin Booker this year?
I have it in front of me, so I can't answer that, but it's a 1/10 of a point more. 1.1. Yeah. I have 1.16 FanDuel for Rubio, 1.05 for Booker.
On DraftKings, it's like 1.2 for Rubio, 1.13 for Booker.
Okay. Head to the Hawks.
And that's with Booker being super efficient. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just. I was listening to Simmons and KOC talking about Booker in particular. I'm gonna fuck these numbers up, but the point of just understand like the comparison between the two. So like last year, he averaged, let's just say, 60 passes out and 60 passes back to him in a game, and now it's like 45 and 45. He's just not handling the ball as much because they have a secondary creator in there, but he has become more efficient in everything that he is doing. But he's just simply not handling the ball nearly as much as he did previously.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like before the season, if you were like, all right, so Ricky Rubio is on the Suns and Devin Booker is going to shoot 51% from three, I would have just been like, oh my God, Devin Booker is going to be like one of the best DFS players this season. And then you were like, but while Devin Booker is shooting 51% from three, Ricky Rubio is going to average more points per minute than Booker. Like I would have thought you were out of your mind.
Yeah, it's really wild. Hawks side. Trae Young, 10-1 on FanDuel, 9,600 DK, 17-4 on Fantasy Draft, and $45 on Yahoo. There's a lot of ownership coming here. Young, Jabari, DeAndre Bembry, all right around 30% ownership. Parker a little bit less so on DraftKings because he's not as favorably priced. DeAndre Hunter at 22% on DraftKings at 4K. Cam Reddish, 3,300 on DraftKings, 25% owned. We don't have Kevin Herter for this one. So we should see a boost to some of these wings. I love Trae Young today. I think Jabari looks fantastic on FanDuel. Still real solid on DraftKings. I think DeAndre Bembry is a guy that I'm going to end up with a lot unless you have some other thoughts. What are your overarching Hawks thoughts?
Gonna be going here for value just because with Herter out, there's more minutes to go around. I don't trust any of Bembry, Hunter, or Reddish, but they're cheap enough where with the minutes, it would be kind of surprising if at least one of them doesn't have a good game. Yeah. I think Reddish is my favorite just because on DraftKings, he's 3,300, which even though the other guys are cheap, you're still talking about, like what, 20% less expensive than Bembry and Hunter. So I'll be rotating all those guys through. Not much confidence in them individually, but as a group, I think that at least one of them has a good game.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. Bembry is the guy that's breaking free the most. Cam Reddish just hasn't been good from a fantasy perspective this season.
How many minutes do you project Trae Young for?
36. I know. Yeah, he's been playing like stupid high minutes over the past couple games.
Right. Yeah, I hate going above 36, but I mean we've got 3 straight games where he's played at least 40.
I don't have to go over 36 to get a ton of him, so that's why I feel pretty safe. Like he already grades out as my best point guard option on FanDuel. So
if I only go to 36, I think I'll get a good amount, but he'll still just be like further behind Luka than I think he should be.
Okay. See, like I have him in for 36, and I'm still only 1.1 points behind Luka on FanDuel. So if I do anything else crazier, like I might just not get Luka.
If I give Luka 34 and Trae 38, I get Trae like 2 points behind Luka.
Okay. I have the gap at Luka 55, Trae 54 right now.
Yeah. I have 56 Luka, 53 Trae, but that's with 34 minutes of Luka and 38 of Trae.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have a lot of Trae for sure. What do you think about Jabari for 7,200? A little bit better of a price on FanDuel where he's 7,200.
Yeah, I'd like it more on FanDuel. Pretty neutral for me on DraftKings. Like I would put him, as far as the Hawks go, I'd put him behind Trae, and then I would put him behind that group of Bembry, Hunter, Reddish. Probably plays 32 to 34 minutes. He can beat that price tag. It's just not, he actually has to play really well to do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna a lot of Trae, a lot of Jabari, a lot of DeAndre Bembry. I'll cycle in a little bit of Reddish and Hunter just because. You doing anything with the centers?
I don't think so. They're just, Damian Jones started last game, but you still just saw the minutes pretty spread out. Jones played 20 minutes. Len off the bench actually played 22. Fernando played 9. So, yeah, I mean, 3,600 for Len. Like if he gets 22 minutes again, he'd be an okay tournament option if he's going to be low owned.
Right, especially because of a 5-gamer. Who knows the minutes? We saw Damian Jones
Right.
play 20 and 24 over the past 2, so I'm sure it'll be Bruno Fernando.
Well, is there a logical option for one of them to defend Kaminsky? Because I see Kaminsky getting a lot of open looks if Alex Len's on the floor with him.
That's very true. How many times do you think anybody said we need to make sure we have a way to guard Frank Kaminsky?
Right. I mean, this could be the game where Parker plays center if they wanted to.
Okay, so something just happened where you are now really quiet.
I didn't change anything.
I mean, I wouldn't have.
Am I better now?
No, you're just super quiet. And I think that I am probably slightly quiet too. But something happened where you have just dramatically changed in volume in my ear, and I assume for the rest of the stream. Let me just make sure nothing like weird happened. Is
that any better?
I mean, I don't think that you should have to do anything. I don't know. We'll be fine. Like, I can boost whatever we need. Nobody said anything yet. I know that I'm hearing it first. All right, let's close this out. Denver Nuggets, Brooklyn Nets. 116 implied total for the Nugs. 108 for the Nets. Big time pace up spot for Denver. Let's start with Jokic. 9,600 on FanDuel, 8,600 on DraftKings, 16-1 and $39 on Fantasy Draft and Yahoo. Any reason we're not absolutely smashing Nikola Jokic here?
He's fat and he sucks. No. No.
By the way, Nikola Jokic won my Twitter poll of who is the better conditioned athlete, Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid, which made me happy.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So, yeah, it was like 58-42 between the two.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the same conversation. Like, the minutes are questionable, whether, some games he's playing 34, 35. Last game he played like 30.8. So, that's a little bit of an issue. The rates are down a bit from last year, but, I think they are trending in the right direction. But the biggest thing for me is that, especially at 8,600, every negative thing, every argument that I'm sure people in chat are making about Jokic right now, or that anyone else would make, it's very, very clearly baked into that price. Because if you just talk about from a skill standpoint, and if you knew he's going to play 34, 35 minutes with his skill set every night, he's a 10K player. Yep. So getting him to 8,600, every negative thing you're saying about him is factored in, and it makes it so there's not really a whole lot of downside and there's massive upside.
I'm going to have an absolute ton of him, especially on FanDuel. I mean, he's 9,600, and the next closest center is Montrezl Harrell at 8K. He is just the guy to have. And it's not like there is no center value that's good. It's Brook Lopez and Dwight Powell and Len and Damian Jones and Zubats. Like, he is the only option, and he is at 1/4 of all of the center ownership.
Yeah, I don't have any way to get away from him. Like, even if I project him with just this year's rates and for 32 minutes, which is like as low as you reasonably can, he still ends up being, projecting for like 47 points at 8,600.
I love Jokic so much. Jamal Murray, 7,500 and 6,800, mid-20 or low 20s in ownership. That stand out to you? He's just I never get that dude right.
I think the biggest reason for being interested in Murray would be if you start to get like tons of ownership on Jokic and Murray's goes down. I think there is some negative correlation between the two, because Murray doesn't get a lot in the way of peripherals in part because Jokic does, and Murray's, a scoring dependent guard. So if you have Murray going out there and it's one of those games where he just lights it up from three, Jokic normally has pretty bad games. But right now we have Jokic at 31%, Murray at 21 or 22. So I don't think that there's like a really big edge there in doing that. But if it changed to like, 40% Jokic and 8% Murray or something, then I think he becomes an interesting like negative correlation leverage play to Jokic.
Okay. People calling him still fat, barely runs up and down the floor. Again, this dude played 64 minutes in a basketball game in the NBA 6 months ago. Every picture
he ate a lot in those 6 months.
Yeah. Did he? Yeah, he was probably like 5 pounds heavy when he came into the season. A picture that somebody posted of him flipping the tire in Slack. He's just
Yeah.
like a 7-foot monster man. He's not, and with like very little fat on his body. Craziness. Craziness. If Jokic lost the weight that Embiid did, then maybe he'd be better at basketball. What did Embiid lose other than him still being not in shape? He drank 3 less Shirley Temples on the day? Yeah, okay. Do you want anything else from the Nuggets? Like, this is the hardest team to grab at this point.
Not really. Millsap's price tag finally came up. He was a guy that I've been getting to a lot. Gary Harris is, I guess, the only guy that's still down at that sub 5K price point where it's unlikely he's great, but he does at least give you a little bit of value. But it's pretty much just Jokic for me.
Yeah. On the Brooklyn side, obviously no Karis LeVert for a hot minute. Kyrie Irving questionable tonight. He's 9,800 on FanDuel, 8,800 on DK, 16.5 on Fantasy Draft. I'm not particularly enamored with him at all. I think that if he's in, all of Brooklyn just looks kind of similar. Jared Allen, 4,900 and 4,200 might be the best potential value. I don't really know what to do with Brooklyn. We fire up Spencer Dinwiddie if Irving is out.
We fire up anyway.
Okay. What else do you like from Brooklyn?
So I'm with you on Allen. He played 18 minutes and fouled out last game. I would expect that, barring foul trouble, he gets upper 20s in this one. DeAndre Jordan being on the floor against Jokic just doesn't seem like something that Denver's or Brooklyn's going to be really looking to do all that much of. And they've clearly kind of been giving the edge to Allen, trying to get him playing time anyway. So I think that there is a pretty nice ceiling at that price. Dinwiddie didn't close last game, which really sucked. They went with Garrett Temple for whatever reason.
Because someone else dreamed about him the night before.
Yeah. They lost the game, which I was happy to see. So he only played 24 there, but there is the potential for him to get 28 to 30 minutes if he closes, even with Irving in. Like, he can very easily close over Temple. And his rates, you figure about half of his minutes are going to be without Kyrie on the floor. His rates, going back to last year, if you look without Kyrie or Russell or LeVert on the floor, it's just monster usage, monster assist numbers. It basically averaged out to like a 28% usage rate, and I think around like a 30% assist percentage when I projected it for last game. So on a per minute basis, I expect him to be good, even though the matchup's not really that good. Obviously, if Kyrie is out, he becomes an even better per minute play, but the ownership goes way up too. So I actually would just prefer that Kyrie be in and then get Dinwiddie at low ownership in tournaments.
Yeah, 5,500 for Dinwiddie on FanDuel, just too low of a price one way or the other. I'm going to have a little bit of like most of these guys, but no one is just a knockdown drag out. This is the guy that I have to have in a lineup unless Kyrie unless Kyrie ends up out.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the matchup. Denver's the slowest team in the league.
Yeah, big time pace up spot for Denver. I have them gaining 6 possessions in this spot. All right, let's sum it up. Favorite plays for today?
Luka, Young, Giannis, George, if we find out he's playing at least 30 minutes. Porzingis, Markkanen.
FanDuel for me, Trae Young, Pat Bev, Lou Will, DeAndre Bembry, Drew Holiday in a way, especially if Brandon Ingram is out. Giannis, Kelly Oubre, Jabari Parker, Lauri Markkanen, Thad Young, JaMychal Green, and one and only center Nikola Jokic. All right, guys, please hit the like button when you're heading out. Don't be afraid to subscribe to the channel as well. We've got Laffy and Sal coming up immediately after this. Not on this stream, but on our channel. So check them out. They're going to be talking some NFL. We are going to get out of here. Plenty of content coming up for the rest of the day. So check it all out. Go to awesemo.com for it. Shout out to Yahoo for being the presenting sponsor. Use the promo code NBA Strategy to sign up at awesemo.com if you want 50% off of our package. We are out of here. Later, everybody.